Hello, I'm Travis Fish, and I'm joined by my co-host Tom Rees, and we've worked in UK hospitality operations for our whole career. This is the Ops Club podcast, a show in which Tom and I discuss what's really going on in UK hospitality, or at least in our small corner of it. And each week we'll be talking to a different industry operator about how they're coping and what's on their mind right now. Hello, Tom. How are you on this fine morning?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I had an interesting week. Asked to chat to the Sun newspaper to do an interview about pubs and government policy and closures. Obviously, there's a bit of doom and gloom in the market at the moment.
Most of the time we've been in it.
Yeah, and I guess there's always opportunity, right? And there's always positive things going on. There are lots of pubs closing, and I think some extremely challenging conditions that we're feeling as well. But it's also easier to do business than ever in some respects. You can run a business off your mobile phone these days, which 15 years ago it was a bit more complicated. So I think there are different positives and negatives, but yeah,
I guess a bit like our conversation with Bruce a few weeks ago, same problems over the last 40 years, basically.
Well, I think they were mainly trying to get to the heart probably at the time of the Labour conference, with the Chancellor, talking about the upcoming budget. It was probably just picking up on the press that's already out there about, what hospitality is in trouble, and pubs particularly, I guess, occupy a unique place in the British psyche. But also, I genuinely think they occupy a unique place as a business.
Yeah.
And it's not just pubs. I think cafes and some restaurants can do it as well. But pubs are a bit unique about, if you invest in a pub, you're investing in the fabric of a locality, and most of that money goes back into the local economy through the local supply chain, or into young local people working there.
What were the Sun asking you?
What do I think of current sort of state of play, tax rises, how it's hurt our business? And of course, I said it has hurt our business, because it has, but we've been lucky enough to be growing at a pace that we can kind of absorb that. So it's not, try not to be doom and gloom about it, but we're having to work incredibly hard and perform incredibly well just to stand still. And obviously, I myself have been having to work, a second job outside of the business for a significant period of time, which is not ideal. So I think that my overall piece was that particularly small independent pubs, and I think the sector as a whole needs support, but it's not a level playing field. There's a pub near us that, to all intents and purposes, to our guests, would seem just like another local pub, but they're owned by an enormous offshore equity company. So, and they're buying beer at a sort of half, 50% less than we do, and charging more for it. So it's definitely not a level playing field out there.
Yeah, I mean, in an industry where it's hard for everyone, it is probably harder even for the real, for the small businesses, right?
Yeah, I think you have advantages. You can be nimble, and you can probably bring that authenticity in a more unique way, in a more genuine way. But at the same time, I think I was just talking about a VAT cut. I think there's a lot of different voices in the industry. I think a VAT cut is the thing that would free up cash, give a bit of breathing space, and and it's not just government policy, to be honest. It's energy was the thing that's really hurt everyone, because it gave everyone a reason to in through supply chains to put their prices up. And this is just stuff like, our broadband provider put their pricing up by 18%, which didn't seem particularly reasonable to us. But every single line of the P&L went up by 20%, basically, and then your energy actually went up by 150% or something in some respects. And it was just that.
Yeah.
So a bit of a polemic rant from me.
Yeah, as usual.
Yeah, exactly. But I try to remain optimistic, and I am sort of fundamentally positive. And there are always examples of people absolutely smashing it in the darkest of times, right? None more than Guest Today runs.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a fantastic hour talking with Maria McCann, who is the operations director for Blacklock, and she shared a history of some for me, some very iconic brands: Living Ventures, The Living Room, Shake Shack, and Blacklock, all actually in very poignant parts of their history. So yeah, an incredible story and some incredible views and ways of, I guess, being a leader and running the business that they run today. And yeah, one of the businesses that's definitely bucking the trend, that is affecting, well, most of the rest of us, and I'm sure Blacklock too in its own ways, but they are doing a fantastic job right now. So yeah, we had an interesting hour conversation. So yeah, enjoy.
This episode is brought to you by Williams Stanley and Company, modern accountants for ambitious hospitality brands. From accounting and payroll to smarter data systems, they give you clear numbers you can actually use to run the week, not just file at year-end. If you want a partner who knows hospitality and moves fast, talk to Williams Stanley and Company. Learn more at williamsstanley.co. Welcome to the Ops Club podcast, Maria McCann. List of iconic businesses you've been part of, and currently running the ops team at Blacklock.
Yep.
Do you want to give us a summary, short and sweet, or as long as you want, about how you got into hospitality and how you got into operations and sort of how you moved through to where you are now?
Yeah, so I think growing up, I always loved food and drink, probably more so drink, Irish stereotype. Studied to be a dietitian because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I thought that's what I wanted to do. Loved food science, loved the whole culture around food and what it meant to people. And then I moved to Edinburgh to go to uni. When I moved, got a job in McDonald Hotel Group. And at that stage, they had 2 rosette restaurants in almost all of their hotels. They had great bars. The hospitality was known for being one of those great restaurant groups and or spas or hotels that you could just go and get some great hospitality.
Yeah.
And in Edinburgh, right next to the Palace, in a beautiful location. So what started as a fund your way through university part-time job very quickly became, oh, I don't know what quail is. I've never seen that on menus in Ireland. This is interesting. This is fascinating. As an 18-year-old, really learning about food and learning it both sides. So going into uni, studying the science of it and the nutrition of it and what it would do to your body. And then the other side of it was then the science of your taste buds and satiety and when people would eat. And then going into the hotel and going, oh, this is food menus and this is what goes really well together and this is the wine. And I very quickly got immersed into, people love this. Guests loved chatting to you and you can talk about what you've learned. And I found myself still loving university, but really loving learning more. And I didn't go home that first summer. I decided to stay in Edinburgh and work breakfast, lunch and dinner shifts in the hotel. And we had a really crazy French chef who at that stage wouldn't talk to anybody other than me. And he would just like
Why?
Lose it. No, get Maria. She'll talk to me and she'll make sense. And of course I was a naive 18-year-old. Yes, chef, no problem, chef. But he taught me a lot and I learned a lot from him. And then I got randomly through hospitality, Hard Rock Café, who were doing really well in Edinburgh, reached out and said, look, will you come and work with us? And I had said, oh, no, I'm really happy in the hotel. A few months later, bumped into them, running theme here. I was in a nightclub and I bumped into the team that I'd met before. And they were like, come on, you did really well in your travel safe. I don't know why you turned the job down. Please come back and work with us. So still at uni, I went, okay, Hard Rock Café is for me. And I became an international trainer with them and loved it. Was at Hard Rock for 5 years. And managed to put a mix of my career to good use. Allergies weren't legal at that point, weren't a legal requirement. So I did a lot of work with Hard Rock on how to present it on their menus or what that meant, or if someone came in, what were the common allergies, and just little bits. Graduated, travelled the world, came back and went, okay, now you've seen the world, you've loved Hard Rock, hospitality, did what it was meant to do. Go and get a job as a dietitian. That might be a little bit harder. While you're applying, get a job somewhere else. Living room pops up and I go, I love this. I love the living room. I used to go as a guest when I was working a couple of buildings along on George Street in Edinburgh and went, yep, this is for me. I'll get a job as a waitress because I'm going to be a dietitian in a couple of months. And 2 months later, trainer and AGM, and all of a sudden going, I'm never going to get this experience and career and salary and quick development that I would in the NHS. And like anyone, just completely fell in love with it. And the culture of Living Room it just drew me in to stay. And I've been blessed then since Living Room for quite a few years, GM, running it. Shake Shack were opening in the UK. So again, they reached out and said, look, somebody I knew back in the hotel days was running one of the ones out in the Middle East. And they said, look, if you're going to open in London, reach out to this girl. She'll be worth chatting to. They did. I came to London to meet people on a day trip in December and went, oh, this could be fun. This is a great location. Had never really been to London before. And then moved my life for Shake Shack.
That was the Covent Garden one? That was the first one,
when
right?
we opened that one. Yeah. So
Amazing.
then Shake Shack for 8 years. Did a lot there, opened a lot of restaurants, did a lot of delivery, did a lot of tech. And then, having been good friends with Richard Turner through Shake Shack and Mark Rosati, got chatting. The Hawksmoor team and the Blacklock team about doing a delivery-only concept during lockdown, and also helped both of those brands kind of do their delivery. So was running that. And as we came out of lockdown, delivery wasn't really a thing, but I was still very close to the Blacklock team. Gordon was running the business himself directly with the GMs, didn't have anyone on ops. And we then said, could you move into Blacklock full-time? And here we are.
Amazing. Thanks. I mean, some of those businesses have reeled off. Living Room, Shake Shack, obviously working with Danny Meyer and kind of icons of the industry. And I sort of go back to Living Room. It's a business that has had this huge impact, and it seems like people who went through that business are now in all facets of the industry and really senior roles, and everyone talks about it with such sort of warmth, memory. Like what, and you sort of intimated, but what was that the business that really sort of cemented like your hospitality experience? Sounds like McDonald's hotels as well, sort of showing you the thing. But what was Living Room like back in the day?
Hard Rock Café was the initial. This is what a brand can do for people. So when I was there for almost 5 years, and then I went traveling, and I remember being in Vietnam and had been traveling for quite a while and went to a Hard Rock. I was like, this is one to see what one is on the other side of the world. And as soon as they heard that I was working in Edinburgh, it was like, it didn't matter what my name was, who I was Hard Rock family, and everything changed. They'd never met me before, they didn't know. So that really opened my eyes to hospitality, as we all know, it's all about people and how they are and interact with each other. But that really, truly translated how global it could be. And then I went on to do some of Australia and was visiting people who I'd met through Hard Rock and was staying with people in Sydney just after it had opened.
Yeah.
So that really showed me the kind of how big hospitality can be, but how small it can be.
Yeah.
And then I'd still at that point definitely was coming back to be a dietitian, and hospitality was going to be my thing.
Have you definitely given up on the dietitian?
But Living Ventures or Living Room was the reason I'm in it still. So I think Hard Rock opened up that thought process and that initial, oh wow, this is a global career. This option is here. This is really not sold enough to you as a kid as a real career choice. It's fun and it's wow to people. I studied more for some of my Hard Rock menu change tests than I did for some of my university exams. But Living Ventures or the Living Ventures kind of manual that they put together that Living Room had and rolled out really transformed my thought of management and leadership. And it was the pivotal point of me saying this is definitely a long-term management career rather than I could dip in and out.
Yeah,
for sure.
Are there things that you kind of, I don't know, sometimes know or, don't even realise but are there stuff from those Hard Rock and Living Room days that, you still use or abide by today?
I mean, most people in, I think, UK hospitality, if you talk through some of the theories, as we talk about, and we don't really anymore, but they all initiated or have in common living room or living ventures at some point. A lot of, we talk a lot about, like we used to talk about PPK and that being personality, professionalism and knowledge and the stuff you can and can't teach. And like the beach ball theory of having a real, like, what can you see? Just because you've seen it from this side, what's on the other side, and what the stripes look like, or when you have that beach ball, is it white here, blue, is it red? I can see all red, you can see white. That perception of what can you see as a manager at any time, to making sure you're continuously floating or looking and seeing from different angles and perception. And I think the big one everyone uses is swan theory, like that one of how calm you need to be, but you're going like crazy underneath. And it keeps going. There's just that initial mentality of it. That's not management training. That is part-time hourly paid training. And that was almost unheard of, to train out theory and make an hourly paid waiter, waitress, or KP think about the theory of hospitality. Like that wouldn't have happened. It was, here's your spec book, this is what you need to know to do your shift, here's your apron, here's your knife, get on with it.
Yeah.
That living room.
Sometimes not even the spec book.
No, yeah, sometimes just like, here you go.
Just
Figure it out.
Yeah.
But it really made you think, as a full-time, a part-time, it didn't matter. The training that went into the theory of hospitality and making you think why we do what we do was what was so different.
And do you think it's a question of just squeeze on resources and therefore sort of time and ability to invest in that sort of stuff that is the reason why it's not more prevalent today that businesses are doing that? I mean, I think there's lots of businesses that are doing really well, but it's a continual struggle.
Yeah, I think when something isn't immediately quantifiable, if you can't just physically put a number direct to it, it's the easiest thing to go, oh, times are getting tougher. What is not a direct correlation? As soon as you have to estimate that this might generate this, or we believe that this generates this, and that's usually training and marketing, right? Unless there is a fully traceable click-through ROI in marketing, it's then a theory of, if you have a click rate of this, or if you have this many people going through this training course and average spend is now this, it's always an assumption. They are the things that go when times get tough. So I think that's the bit that people fear, having to put more resource up front to not see the return of investment. And potentially because they have worked in places that it hasn't always worked, because not every course you do or every theory you have is going to work.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why some people then go, oh, let's not risk that. There's too much on the line. And let's be honest, margins in hospitality are as squeezed as it is. And it's a tough business these days to make money in. So when they are, I think it's more the fear of it not working out is why people don't do it.
Yeah.
I guess almost anyone can say those things and they can come up with those ideas of, we should do that, we should, teach people to upsell more, etc. Like, was there something in the leaders of those businesses, like, I guess like an innate, I don't know, like passion, or just that was the way they were natural salespeople, they were natural leaders? Is there stuff there that was why that was so successful?
I think it's because they weren't salespeople. I think it was because it was truly a passion that they believed in. And when people are passionate about something, no matter what it is, the majority of the time, they'll be good at it. If you try and put your everything to it, apart from potentially my cycle across Cuba. But
we'll talk more about that in a minute.
If you feel someone else is passionate and you feel their passion, you're interested and you want to deliver it, or at least give it a go or hear what's happening. And they were all genuinely passionate. I mean, look at Setting the Table and Danny Meyer. When Danny talks, because he's so passionate about and believes what he delivers, you go along with him and you feel like you're part of that and you want to see if you can be. And in all of those businesses, it almost not quite cult-like, but there was like that following of, wow, you're passionate and you believe this and you truly think that this is going to be better. Therefore, I believe that you're not going to just drop it and leave it. I believe that if I join, I can help and I can be part of it. And the more that people are passionate about what they do, it is genuine and it is truthful, you want to do it. Whereas when it's salesy, you don't feel like they're genuine about it and it's just for the money. Whereas they were passionately believed in what they did.
It's something we talked about with Tasha, previous conversation, which was about like no one. There's no hospitality companies with the sort of corporate value of like, drive shareholder revenue and the a bit more the hard metrics. It's always the sort of warm hospitality things and creating opportunities and value for each other and looking after people stuff. But the companies don't always achieve that.
Yeah.
and actually everyone is trying to do the former, and we are trying to grow and make money and return investor value and all that sort of stuff. I think what you said about that kind of cult like thing is you feel it when you're in it, but it's really hard to know how to create that.
Yeah.
It's not a formula. It relies on a sort of group of people getting after one really clear thing. Do you think there's a moment in the living room where maybe you'd left the business, you moved on before it'd gone like that? Do you think it kind of lost it at some point? And it's a shame the business isn't here now. There's other reasons as well, but do you think there are things that businesses do that lose that fragile sense of where everything's just working together, that kind of flow?
Yeah, I think as soon as people who are key to the business, or even maybe not, they might not feel they're key to the business, but are very key to the business.
Yeah.
As soon as they don't feel involved anymore, and as soon as you stop including them in decisions or big change, that then loses that cult-like following.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel passionate about what you're trying to deliver, because they haven't heard of it before, or they haven't involved, or they don't think they have impact. And it goes from being something they are part of, a community they're part of, to just somewhere they work. And for me, it is as much as no matter how big you get, the more you can involve your people in what you do, your product, your culture, your events, your whatever it might be, you then have them with you, and it is a community, and that is that cult. It's not just a one person and they're telling everyone what to do. They're fully involved. Once you stop involving as many people as possible and you lose that, they just end up rocking up for shift, do what they're told to do. And as humans, we love breaking rules. So as soon as you give someone a rule, they're going to break it. Whereas if you give them like a set of principles or ideas that they can run and evolve, they'll be part of it. And I think that along the way, living room became a bit rules rather than involved culture people.
Yeah. Do you think that's a scale issue? You just get to a point where you feel like you need to control everything. You can't delegate trust out to so many different sites, and maybe geographically spread as well.
Careful what I say. Don't annoy too many people. I just think when businesses change hands multiple times, and different investors or different people come in and get bought over or additional investment in, those new people want to prove their value or what they can do.
Yeah.
And sometimes trying too hard to prove what you can deliver doesn't always have the right output. There's a reason that there's books like The First 90 Days, and where you settle in and you just get to know and you observe, and then you slowly come in and make tiny little changes that shouldn't be felt. With good intention, they come in going, right, great, we're so excited. This is a brilliant business. We're going to deliver this.
Yeah.
And that pushes people away.
Yeah.
Like come in with the view that we need to make it better.
Yeah.
And actually,
you bought it for a reason.
maybe there's stuff you can add to it, etc.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely.
And like stability and consistency is the thing that generally drives great standards, right? You kind of keep knowledge in the business.
And that's the key bit, knowledge in the business. The people that are there have been there probably a long time. And if you just listen, you see the bits that work really well. And, I'm sure speaking to teams of yours and jobs in the past, your team will be very vocal about what they don't like and what they do. Yeah. So it's all about listening to them before you make change.
You got a ton of budding CEOs out there. It's like, if only I could make all the decisions, and it would all be perfect.
Yeah.
Do you think there is I think there's a bit of a narrative that I hear sometimes that it's harder to find people. I think in today's market, today's recruitment market in hospitality, I think there's a well-versed challenges with Brexit and COVID particularly kind of exacerbating some of those things, accelerating some trends. But do you think it's something, a fundamental shift in the quality of sort of young people? Like there's a change in, I don't know, the attitudes or anything? Or do you just think it's about creating compelling businesses like the living room environment? If that was there today, people would still be as good.
Yeah. I think it's twofold. I think it's all about what businesses you create, culture, and looking after your people. I think the way you do that has evolved, and we need to change what it means to take care of people based on how generations have changed. So what would have potentially been considered taking care of people 40 years ago in the hospitality sector might necessarily be the same as taking care of people today. So I think the first bit is getting a brand that really genuinely cares about people, not says they care about people as an aftermath.
Everyone says they care.
Genuinely cares. And then finding out from them what they want to feel cared for and listened to. Because a lot of it goes down to, what benefits do you offer? Well, really, that's not what they want. They want more flexible working, or they want to be able to do a certain amount of hours over a certain amount of time, or they love, for example, in Blacklock, they love being able to have paternity because they don't want to have babies yet, but they do want to have animals, and they want time off to take care of their animals. Yeah. So there's just like little bits that would be different, and that takes time, and it takes time to listen. And as soon as you take time out of your day, that's more valuable than anything. So for them, I do understand the generational shift and the youngsters of today don't want to work thing that everyone keeps talking. Yeah. And I just think they're misunderstood. I don't think that people don't want to work in the industry. I think they're just more picky about where they choose to work, and they have a different level of what's important to them versus what might have been important to my brother 4 years ago.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's sort of a mad concept to think that there's sort of any generation of people in hospitality are the last great generation and there'll no more great people. That's obviously not the case. And I think you're right. If listening to them and finding what they care about, that's the same 10, 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. The thing might change, but the concept of listening to them.
Because we've got older. So what was important to us and what's important to me now is going to be very different to what's important to 19, 20-year-old new starters.
I do think there's a material change in attitude to sort of what people get from work.
Yeah.
Like I think young people I've hired, they're more confident about. So they might not be as confident in communicating, and for various reasons. That's a generalisation, but they're probably more confident sort of asserting what they want out of work and understanding what they should get and what they want. And sometimes that might be frustrating because it makes, as an employer, it makes it harder to, you have to work harder to sort of get their engagement.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, there's loads of improvements that have been made in the way things are done. Like this, I think the jobs when I was younger, some of it wasn't great, and most employers are better. But it's just, when you're on the other side of it, it's hard work.
Yeah, it's like they really understand what they want, or are not afraid to ask for what they want. When I was younger, I would have just gone, okay, I need a job. That job's there. Little delicatessens in Ireland. Yeah, cool. I'll go wash some pots. It's fine. I'm 15, 16. They'll take me. I'll do that. I'll figure out what's going on. Yeah. They're very happy to then go, okay, I'm going to pick my job because there's more out there to choose from. So the range of jobs available, and that might be just because I'm blindsided by how big London is comparison to tiny old little Dungannon that I grew up in. But there's a lot more range of choice. So they are able to pick where they want to work, and they're more precious or worried about what else is on offer. So there is that balance of, do I go in with this? Do I go in with that? As opposed to, let's take this job and figure out after.
Yeah, and probably like they already have a different perception of different companies, different brands. Like the world is bigger, well, for all of us now, than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of our first jobs, you're sort of trading time for money. Mm-hmm. Like, I will spend some time here and I'll get paid, and that's really all I'm hoping out of this. And nowadays people are like, oh, well, I already like this brand because I've seen it and actually I'd love to be associated with it.
Yeah.
Or I don't think I would.
Yeah. Or I'm connected at so many different levels on their phones. And sort of there's so many more ways to communicate with them.
But in some ways, it feels like it should be a bigger opportunity.
Yeah.
Because actually, you can get people, like you can attract the people that will thrive and will want to work in your business, rather than, don't just take the people that don't want to work in your business. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then I think there's a very real challenge of Brexit. I think it's halted loads of like experienced people from the continent coming over who wanted to work for 1 or 2 years, learn English, move back.
Yeah.
Who never wanted to, that really key role of like quite senior floor staff who didn't want to be management.
Yeah.
So you didn't have the problem of stacking people up and kind of not being able to develop them through, but they just execute stuff and they knew it already. So they were receptive to training and they had the skills and they'd probably worked in great places and come from real strong sort of hospitality cultures.
But it also then, the other side of that is it also stopped that kind of first, second, third year uni or just out of school, your first job, take a risk because and socializing. So that social interaction that hospitality strives off, because you've got used to doing it. You're studying from home and you're in open universities, or you're working from home, or you're doing your last years of GCSEs and A levels at home, and you're not socializing. So then when they do come into restaurants are back open again, and everyone's going, I've been locked up for 2 years.
Yeah.
The guest profile was, thankfully I'm allowed out again, and wanting to drink and eat again. And you've got then a nervousness of social anxiety, because at 18, 19, 20, we were all partying. 18, 19, 20, there would have been a lot of people at home on computers and socially distancing and not being able to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
So I think it's also that level of confidence when you then come into what can be a very difficult environment for people if it's their first job, because hospitality is intense if you're not used to that social life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's a very low barrier to entry. That quite often it's just perceived as, I think it's a great strength of hospitality that it's an industry you can come in and out of whilst you're planning to be a dietitian or anything else, right? And it's kind of, we prove how good the industry is to work in, because most people didn't plan on working in it, and they're sort of here, they captures people and they love it. But I think there's also a ton of people in the industry who's sort of just here because it's flexible and it's and the hardest thing is to try and not allow them in, because you need a certain amount of people. So you kind of want to be optimistic and hire people, and then but then weeding them out as well, because that's a load of work and effort, and also quite often that's people don't necessarily recognise that they're not the right fit for hospitality. It doesn't make them a bad person. It's just not everyone wants to serve people. Not everyone has got that sort of hospitality gene or whatever people call it. Well, I think this is what Danny Meyer talks about in his book. It's like classically articulated it way better than I am. Those kind of core concepts of what to hire for. Yeah. How much did you feel all that stuff in Shake Shack? Was it because also that was translation of American business into the UK?
I think what was fascinating is if you take out Danny Meyer and all of the culture of Shake Shack, on paper, it's a QSR burger restaurant.
Yeah.
It is 4 or 5 minute ticket times. It is burgers. If you had said to me back when I was in Hard Rock and then in Living Room that I would be moving my life to London to run a QSR burger restaurant, I would have said, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And the pride of Living Room being full service, cocktail bar, piano bar, and Edinburgh one was massive. There's no way I would have been thinking I'm going to be in a Shake Shack cap, smashing burgers on a grill. No.
Yeah.
But all of it was because of Danny Meyer and the culture. And not just Danny, but Randy and the team that delivered it. I have a little boy who's 10. And when he was 11 months old, I flew out to the US on holiday, was in New York, and then did a bit of a trip to Canada. And I was sitting in Union Square having a drink with some of the Shake Shack team. And Danny was walking across and stopped and realised that we were sitting there, was meant to be going to a meeting, turned and came over to say hello, and knew about Zachary, knew that we were there. Yeah. That level of Shake Shack UK, we were one of hundreds of employees. He didn't have to stop in his tracks to come over and say hello. When Zachary was born, I received a care package from the US team, and it was kids' clothes from 0 up to 5 years old. And it was anything from Kim Kardashian kids, Shake Shack stuff, Oshkosh Bigosh, signed by everyone, and a big note from Danny.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. I still get a message on International Women's Day from both him and Randy saying, thanks for everything you did for us. I don't work for the company anymore. That sort of putting people first, it changes everything. On going back to what we said earlier, the passion I have and still have for Shake Shack is huge because of the culture they created. And the fact that he was able to do that across multiple other different types of brands and businesses and for other businesses just by the way he speaks. Like, there's a lot of people in the UK have built what they've built because of listening to him or reading Setting the Table or from Will and reading Unreasonable Hospitality. Yeah. So, that culture, it is a game changer, and you could definitely feel it through the restaurants for sure.
Yeah. I think that it's because, like you say, so many good businesses, modern businesses, have absorbed all that, and it's so ingrained, those behaviours, learnings, and the way the books are written as well is so articulate and clear, good examples, well written, funny, and all the rest of it. So you can really translate that into what you're doing. I think that those ways of managing are so embedded now that maybe they weren't when it was released, and it was quite revolutionary. You can almost overlook how important it is, but I think I see it all the time. Everyone's talking about, and then maybe using slightly different language, but it sort of kind of comes back to that. And I'm sure he had his own inspirations and people that were saying different things before that, but it's a really amazing articulation of what makes to create a really fantastic people-driven business. And those things are small, right? They take a mindset, I guess, but that is effort, but it's not a load of money. It's a bit of money, but it's not loads, and the impact that has is so disproportionate.
And a lot of it, and I'll say to people, read it, or I'll send you the audio version, and it's Danny doing it, and it's him and his voice, and even that alone, you're like, oh, this is totally different than reading it yourself. But it's not rocket scientist. Like, it's not stuff you probably haven't heard of before.
It's not a new concept.
It really isn't. But when you read it in that scenario or in that tone or the way it's written, you go, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's how it's delivered, and it's the scenarios it's put in, and it's reinforcing what you sometimes assume people already know. And they might know, but they don't think of it at the time. And I recently hosted a bunch of people in one of the Blacklocks. And I remember before trying to articulate what we do and how the opening went. And I said, well, I don't know what they want to hear from me. It's all pretty obvious. Like, what am I going to say to a bunch of operators that isn't what they already know? And it was one of the guys who runs the CGA said, you'd be very surprised because every business assumes that. And we all just assume everyone else is doing the same things or knows the same things. And we all then just go, that's a great business.
Yeah.
Everything's the same. But you'd be amazed at even those tiny little nuances, even if it's stuff they already know, like in Danny's book. When it's shared in that setting and in that context, it does feel very different. And you feel like you go, oh, that's, wow. And sometimes you just need reassurance that what you're thinking is right. And sometimes Danny's book is reassuring that it is that you're doing the right thing and you're on the right track. So that is hospitality, and that is the way it should be.
Yeah.
And it is that reassurance for the managers and the teams of you're on the right track. Things always don't go right, but there's that whole chapter on the road to success is paved with mistakes well handled.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
everything's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And it's true. The best times is when you get a guest complaint, because then you turn it around and they have a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's like wanting to read a book or whether it's wanting to, I don't know, hear from a speaker, like people almost want like these answers. Like what's the one thing I should do, or what's the, I don't know, bit of thing I should buy to solve this, or the training course. But actually what you're sort of saying is it's not one thing, it's not even two things, it's probably like 1,000 little actions, but it all just comes from like, you have to adopt, because you probably can learn this stuff, but you have to like adopt a mindset or, buy into something and change your belief in order to then, you can't just suddenly like set a reminder to learn every team member's name, or like, you have to like consciously believe. Like, it's a really interesting shift that needs to happen.
Yeah, and there will be lots of things that people tell you that they've done that won't resonate with you because you don't believe either you could do it, your business could do it, or you don't believe in it. But then there will be moments, and it just happens to be setting table was mine. And it was okay, I love this. This is everything that hospitality should be. It will be different for other people. Gordon's is Zappos, the unkindness of, I can't remember the shoe book that.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah, the shoe brand. Yeah.
Zappos.
Yeah.
That one, and how they created that culture. That is his book that he goes, you need to read it. But everyone's slightly different. And I think the bit is, if you find something and you resonate with it, and you think you can deliver it, and you want to include it, and then you're back to that, if you're passionate, you can do it. But there will be stuff that you go, okay, that's great, that works for them, but it doesn't work for me. And you're right, you can't just then go, okay, they do that, so I'm going to go in and do it. It's do you believe you can deliver it? And great if you believe you can deliver it, but do you believe the rest of your team will believe the same as you, and can they deliver it? And on scale, can everybody want to get behind that? And if not, it was a great book and it was a good afternoon spent. But I think the other bit we do a lot in hospitality is we get that guilt of, I've been at this event and it's not work, or I've went to this talk and I take time off and I've booked holidays to go to that. A lot of my shift recently has been really listening to other brands and businesses and not having that guilt that I'm not physically on shift in the restaurant all the time, and getting our managers to do the same, because sometimes they get close-minded into, I talk about them getting Blacklock blind, that they're just so used to it. They go through the motions. They've been there for 5, 6, 7 years. I got Shake Shack blind in a while. I'm like, no, I need to get out of my comfort zone and listen to others and see what else is out there. And it either reinforces what you already know and kind of reinvigorates that energy and that goes, I'm passionate about it again. This is exciting. Or it gives you new ideas. But I think the more we can get our managers to do things like this or Ops Club and what you're doing and chat to others, it brings that passion and energy back in. And it might not be something new, but it might be something new, but it's that passion that it gives energy to.
And I think it rarely is brand new. Evans, we spoke to Bruce, and he's been in the industry for a while, a little bit longer than us. But when we're talking about what's changed over the last 40 years, and actually the same concepts have come and gone, and sort of fascinated by what everyone thinks as that inflection point where things stop working, and as you said, it's basically the people, and he said the same thing. It's like that founder-driven passion. It doesn't have to be the founder. It's like key people who you don't quite know at the time are the people that drive the culture, but they're pinning it together, and then you take one person out, and it starts to sort of change, and you can save it if it's really robust. But if it isn't, it can really fall apart, and then something will come and replace it. It's essentially the same product. And you see, like burger brands, they've replaced. They're all doing everyone's doing burgers. They do burgers really well, but some of them are thriving, and some of them. And if you take a step back, you're not like a nerdy operator. From a guest, they're basically the same thing. Yeah. But the nuances are almost imperceptible from the outside, but they feel totally different. And one's a massive success, and one dies.
I'll always go back to that: how you make people feel, and that the Maya Angelou quote is probably the most used quote in hospitality, but people genuinely do forget what you did and what you said in detail, but they never forget the way you made them feel, and that is hospitality. And whether it's with your teams or with your guests, it could be a pizza in one brand, pizza in another, but if you feel like you've had a great time in that brand, that's the brand you're going to talk about, and the other brand might not do so well. Burgers, steaks, chops, cocktails, ice cream. It is the product is usually shouted about, and it usually highlights itself as part of the experience and comes to light after the overall experience was great. You very rarely, and it does happen, but you very rarely hear, I had the best food I've ever had, but the experience was rubbish.
You can't evangelize about a product unless everything else has to be I guess good, to the level you can't. Yeah,
but you will hear the other way around. You will hear, I had great service or I had great hospitality, but shame the food wasn't that good.
Yeah,
but you very rarely hear people say, oh, the food was exceptional, because they don't get to there. They don't want to tell you about the food because their overall experience wasn't good.
Do you think there are elements of the experience that I guess like the industry doesn't invest enough time and thought into?
I think that's a lot of stuff I'm processing through at the minute of, when stuff comes out and it's new and it's cool and it's fun, or it feels it to you. If you're doing it every day, is it still exciting and fun? It might be to the person who only sees it the first time when they visit. Or is it not? Is it too many other people are doing it? So I think there's a lot of ambience, vibes, feel. I think there's also, due to potential labour constraints or things getting more expensive and national minimum wages and having to constantly keep up and be ahead, you might not have as much dwell time with the guests or moments of hospitality or time, because our teams all work very, very hard. So I think there's probably lots of other stuff out there that will be the new fad or the new thing that might short-term heighten experience or feel like it does. But I think the bigger bit is how much or how many people can you put on when the restaurant is full to greet a guest, to take their bags, to sit them down, to wish them a good day, to spend that time saying, oh, you're leaving now, but you've never been to Covent Garden before. Let me tell you what other pubs are around. Let me write down where I think you should visit. And as more and more pressures come in and more efficiencies have to be made, that time that team get to spend with guests to make their moment special risks being reduced. So not necessarily something new that needs to be created or we don't invest in. It's just making sure our team have time to spend with our guests, I think, is the big bit.
There's a bit of a theme across a lot of our conversations, and we've spoken to some tech entrepreneurs who work in the hospitality space a lot, and sometimes they're trying to solve a very specific problem in hospitality, or sometimes they're just trying to speed things up, and quite often it can be some brands really embrace tech, and sometimes that can reduce, as you were saying, sort of reduce that contact time between the server and whether it's like QR code ordering via an app or paying via an app, so you reduce those moments where you can create that hospitality. And where do you sit on that? Are you an embracer of new tech?
I'm an embracer of new tech if it makes the team's life easier.
Yeah.
I'm not an embracer of new tech if it's just another new tech to add work to their plates. There is now, I've seen out there, more dashboards than could possibly be mentioned.
Yeah.
And the last thing a GM needs is another dashboard. If it's genuinely tech that's going to drive the business forward and make their lives easier, it's worth looking at. The other side of it is also, what do the guests want? And there is some places that people do want a QR code and they want to pay at table and they want to get out. But can you still if your brand is all about guest interaction, can you still do that in a way that you have to then physically drop that QR code over and then they pay in their own time? They don't need to wait for you to come back with a card machine. Yeah. So I think it can be amalgamated with the right mindset. I think the bit that's really key, and that's what we're still trying to figure out, is don't lose sight of your brand just because a tech company is very salesy and pushy.
Yeah.
Always keep thinking, what did you go into this conversation trying to achieve? Can they deliver it? If not, they're not for you. They might be right for somebody else and they might be a cracking product. But as soon as you start losing sight of your brand and what your brand's about just to fit tech, you've lost it, is the big bit. And for me, it was guest metrics. It was we find it so personal. Like, it's just such a personal thing. Yeah.
As a critic, you're getting reviewed every day.
Doesn't matter how many 5 stars you get. You get a 1 star and you go into this spiral. Yeah. And it is so personal. And you risk spiraling. And for us, we use an open table as our booking platform. And we've then got Google Business, as everyone does. Yeah. Open table has a guest center that combines your Google reviews. As soon as you get a review, depending on your setup on Google, you get an email or an alert. Then Google sends you like a daily or a weekly summary. And then Open Table sends you like a daily or a weekly summary. Yeah. Chances are you're reading that 1-star review 10 times. So it went from being personal. You think it's then catastrophic across your whole business. Yeah. And you think there's a theme. And you drop everything and go, right, I need to get into that restaurant. Need to deploy the training, the troops. And then you go, oh, it was once out of 2,000 reviews. why did I waste so much time on that? And we brought in sentiment search as
Fantastic.
and it's changed. It's completely changed. It's taken that emotional connection. You read something once and you thought it was a big issue, but actually it's not.
And it helps to like
Potentially an issue.
benchmark as well, doesn't it? So you can see like
Exactly.
in this part of the whatever geography, actually this is a great score, or
And it's really,
'Cause
that's
sentiment
been
is-
something for me that has actually saved a lot of time, because I used to manually and then had someone manually tracking trends, reading through each review, putting them on a spreadsheet, tracking trends of, was it roast potatoes that week that was an issue? Was it gravy? Was it value? It's taken away that drop everything, deploy all of your resources to something that's not even an issue. But it's also taken away hours of time of manually calculating potential trends. So for me, things like that, because we knew guest metrics was one of our key things, and it was something that was so personal to us, and having that, we want guests to have a great time. We were all about fun and wanting to have that fun experience. Trying to quantify that was so difficult, and you get down a spiral. That was something that we brought in, and it's now been live a year, and the GMs use it daily, weekly, ops-wise, board-wise. It has completely changed and transformed and made ops easier. We now train and build training plans based on genuine feedback, not just what's in mine or Gordon's head, because we've read it 10 times and it's not actually an issue.
Yeah, and just a much more objective.
Yeah.
It's easy for all of us to get subjective views on.
Yeah.
We see one bad thing, so therefore,
And that's what you focus on.
it must all be bad. Like,
Yeah.
And I think you place more weight on what some people think than sometimes what all our guests are saying, And sometimes I have this real battle with, well, all the metrics are pretty good, but I just have a gut feeling like it's not right. Things aren't right.
Yeah.
And I guess sometimes that is right. Isn't it? Sometimes you have identified something that's based on experience and it's gut feel, but it's based on all your experience around. But sometimes it might just be a specific personal hang-up. Like I found this when building my own business. There were just things that I thought we should do that would be really good, and I was convinced I was being really guest-centric with this. And actually, people told us otherwise, who vote with their feet and tell you others. Or there were things that I thought were so important to the vision of the business, and then we didn't do it for whatever reason, whether it was too expensive or we just didn't get around to doing it when we were opening, it was too busy. And then actually 6 months later, we're like, we didn't need to do this. I mean, like gin is a good example. Everyone had about 400 gins on their bar. Yeah. And we opened post-COVID, we only got 2 gins on our first delivery out of about 15. And then no one actually asked for any gins. And because everyone was outside, no one could see the bar anyway. So people were just ordering gin and tonic. And they didn't really care. And we probably
it was the end of the world for you, because you thought, they're terrible, these gins.
I put together, spent ages curating this beautiful list of London-based gins, and it had a story behind it, with local products, and we've only ever had 2 gins on our bar. No one has batted an eyelid, and every now and then someone says, have you got Tanqueray 10? I say, oh no, sorry, we've got this lovely local gin produced down the road, etc., and they go, yeah, fine. And it's just like a real lesson for me that I could think something's really important, or the received wisdom in the industry. You go to any pub at the time and everyone had 20, 30 gins because you're reading an industry paper,
that's what's
built by Pernod are telling you, or Diageo are telling you need to. Everyone wants differentiated gin offering. And actually, in my experience, people didn't care. But that could be just
controversially, we don't have Guinness.
Yeah, which is such a monster driver of the on-trade beer category. It's been in 20-odd% growth, driving the stout category. And who would have thought, right? Everyone thinks we're trying to work out Gen Z. They don't drink. They want soft drinks. They want White Claw, hard seltzer. This is going to be the next big thing. Actually, they want stout.
We'll just get something that was really cheap years ago.
Yeah.
We're now going to put it at like £8 a pint around London.
Yeah. But there's someone who... So in our pub, we didn't have Guinness. And I got called fair few names by some elderly Irish gentlemen because not having Guinness.
It was endearing, I can tell you.
I'm not sure. But we used a fantastic brewery called Ansbach and Hop Day, and they've got a product called the London Blacks. Amazing beer. It's won number one
Yeah,
beer in
it
the
is
country, I
very
think.
good. Yeah.
Award-winning, beautiful pint. If you like stout,
Yeah, it's
you
great.
like it
I've
more.
had it,
Like, yeah, wonderful product. And it was cheaper to buy than Guinness, because Guinness has held their prices so high because they've got an iconic products like Apple or whatever, or Nike trainers, and I totally get it, but it's really frustrating in that to try and, like, you can't educate every guest, and we'd say to people, oh, this is a bit like Guinness. Do you want to try it? And people, but I'm amazed at how the strength of beer brands, like, it's so dug into people's personality and their psyche, and it doesn't really happen anywhere else. I'm not sure. There's another. I can think of another product that is so driven into, got these global brands producing something that really doesn't have any identity to that person should really feel. They're talking about local products. They want to support local small businesses, and everyone would agree with that. And then you put a local product in front of them.
Yeah.
It's made by some really passionate people down the road. It's investing in the local economy. It's all this brilliant stuff. It's like artisan product, effectively, and it's like 20p more than this globally mass-produced faceless lager or whatever. And people will call you out, swear at you, because they don't feel like the pub is their place because you don't have their beer.
Yeah.
I find that incredial. Powerful bit of marketing.
It is powerful marketing.
Have you ever?
100% is powerful marketing.
Have you ever? Sorry, that was a rant.
I feel like that's been building for a while. That was like 3 minutes.
He was waiting for the first Irish person to come on the podcast so he could rant about Guinness.
I think
and
I've heard
Irish
that
people.
story before.
Have you thought about putting Guinness on?
No, we won't.
Why not? Why not?
It's just we work with Harbour as our main producer down in Cornwall.
Great guys.
They don't have stout. They don't make it. Occasionally at winter we do like a bottled stout that they do a brew for us.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring on a velvet stout over winter in a bottle. That is theirs, and it's Blacklock branded. They make it for us, so it's Blacklock Velvet Stout. It won't be on draft. It's in a bottle, so people really want that profile. I think the other bit for us is we love moments of 55, which we talk about, which is like bursts of 55. And it does translate back to Danny Meyer, 49-51.
Yeah.
So for us...
For those of us that don't know, can you explain what it is?
Basically, Danny in the book talks a lot about how you hire people or the things that they do, and yes, they're like 100% person. So if you were to get like a pie chart, and you're 100% person, 49% of what they do is what they do. It's the task. It's the technical element. 51% is how they do it, and it's the hospitality side of it, and it's how they deliver it. So we look at it as service versus hospitality. And in Danny's book, it's like sort of the technical skill, and the technical skill is still important. So if you're going to do this, the technical task still needs to be there. But if you really had to weigh them up, how you deliver it or the hospitality, you can be sitting someone down and you can say, look, this is your table, here's your menu, up here specials, or you can chat to them the way, how was your day, how are you doing, and it's just that how you deliver it. So that hospitality and that personality is that 51% rather than 49%. And when Gordon was creating the brand and putting everything together for Blacklock, he really resonated with that, but thought that hospo was even more, that kind of hospitality side was even more. So we talk about 48 and 52. So 48 is our service, it's our technical, and 52. But there's moments, and we call them bursts of 55. So that kind of 40 to 52 goes out the window, 48 goes out the window.
Really cool.
Dialing out to 11.
And we just go, right, it has to go to 55. And it might be 1 on a shift. It might be 2 on a shift. It's not going to be every single table. But it's just that you get goosebumps almost talking about it because you know it's going to be special. And sometimes our team will get on so well with a guest who's asked for Guinness that they will run to the pub and they'll get they'll petty cash a pint of Guinness and take it back to the restaurant. And you just see people go, what? No, well, we know you want a Guinness. We don't have it. That's on us.
Yeah.
But I went and got you a pint. And there's just those little moments of our team love doing that when they've got the opportunity and the time to do so, and when they've got that connection with their guests. And there's so many other examples, and Guinness is probably now not happening as much as it used to because Guinness is so popular.
Yeah.
But for the occasional guest, they'll go and buy like a couple of cans in Tesco's and just in case have some and go, we're not going to charge you for this. We're really sorry we don't have it. But the ones are the fact that if you go into Soho, they know the lyrics so well on the corner because they'll run to get a product we don't have. Or in Shoreditch, Butchie's is next door, and our chips are beef dripping. So if there's a veggie or vegan in who really wants chips, the team will go to Butchie's and get them veggie chips.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Just little bits like that. That's our burst of that.
That's an amazing moment of hospitality for those people. Like if you structured that with every site having stocked cans and it became known and it became a thing, you would probably lose that spontaneous element of it and then the genuineness of it. How do you sort of train that or allow your operators to do it? It requires quite a high level of trust.
So we very early on talk about autonomy, and we give them, yes, of course, each of the restaurants have a budget for hospitality. They can do whatever they want with it. I can feel already a load of operators are going to go, what are they doing? I hate dread to see their P&L. But our managers don't have the power to hospo. It's not needed a manager tool. It's not needed a manager card on the till. Yeah. We give the team free rein to do what they want, so that moment is special. If at any point we thought it was getting out of control and all of a sudden hospo was through the roof and not within a certain budget, we would then say to the GM, maybe look at it, let's see what items they're doing. Can you try and help them go do something different? It rarely happens that they go too crazy, because they also love the autonomy and they want to be able, it's not that they're just completely taking the piss and putting everything through. Yeah. The bit I get more worried about is that it gets to, we talk about prawn cracker effect. So it's if you order Chinese food and you expect to get free prawn crackers. If you then order Chinese food and you don't get free prawn crackers, you're really annoyed. So the bigger bit isn't the autonomy bit. The bit that I actually train out a lot more during induction or during any of the training sessions on hospitality is it being unique. It needs to mean something to you. It needs to mean something to that guest, or else you end up being that brand that our cheesecake becomes the prawn crackers. Yeah. You're just giving out free cheesecake because it's somebody's birthday. Yeah. Prawn crackers, they get pissed off because it was their birthday and they didn't get a cheesecake. You get annoyed because you ordered Chinese food and you didn't get prawn crackers. So rather than trying to go, this is your boundaries or do this or suggestions of this, it's more, how do you feel when you're doing it? Because our personality types in hospitality, going back to kids, you get gold stars for doing something right. And then you also get that buzz when you get a shout out or a well done. And we love a well done. You also love making other people feel special because you know how you feel when you feel special. Yeah. So when the teams are doing those moments of 52 or 55, they also want to go and tell their other people what they've just done or the idea they've had. And when that buzz happens, they want to do it more. And it's unique. And there's not enough of those unique moments for it to completely blow any budget. Yeah. But enough for it to be special, enough to guests to be like, wow. Like a really great example of one was there was a family that were coming for food for a long time. And it was then their little girl's 13th birthday. And she had told us in the past she wanted to be a chef. So when she came in, and she always has a fillet steak, 13-year-old to fillet steaks, I'm absolutely loving life.
Bougie,
this is great.
Bougie kid, yeah.
And the chef said, like, jokingly, like, put, happy birthday on sauce on the plate. And we don't normally put sauces on the plate. It's just like little bits that she loved. But at the end of the meal, the GM said, look, do you want to come in? I know it's really busy, but do you want to have a quick glance into the kitchen and say hello to the chefs? So this little girl was just blown away and was like, yeah, sure, can I go in? So they took her in, said hello to the chefs, but all of our chefs had a Blacklock chef white and signed it and wrote happy birthday and gave that to her. So she then left just those moments of like Goosebumps 55 as a 13-year-old who wants to be a chef, her favourite restaurant, and the chefs had then given her Blacklock chef wipes that were signed by all the chefs. Yeah, incredible. There's just little moments like that are the big bits that aren't going to blow the budget. Yeah. It's a chef wipe. Yeah,
and I guess you've got the metrics and the guardrails in place to be able to track and monitor that. And if, like you say, it gets out of hand, but the risk of the value you get from it is huge, right?
And the cheesiness is the best hospitality is free, as much as it is very cheesy to say it, but it is. Yeah. It's more the intent than the gift. It's the thought that went into it.
Yeah, incredible. There's a local restaurant near me called Ida. It's amazing. It got voted the best local restaurant in the UK, London, maybe London. I can't remember. And it's like your perfect little local Italian, and run by a husband and wife duo. And I've lived in the same place for about 12 years. So, and their kids used to sort of run around, like run the floor of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And they were quite young when, and now they're all adults and not there anymore. Sometimes they are, but it's gained loads of recognition in the last few years, and rightly so. But it was always brilliant. It's, I haven't actually been for a while, but it wasn't always perfect. I remember sitting there and it took an hour to get served our food once because they were just absolutely rammed, and I don't know what was going on in the kitchen, but we got looked after and we never worried about it.
Yeah.
And I reflect on that quite a lot. Oh, you could be really pissed off. That could be an absolutely awful experience. I mean, I was quite hungry,
Yeah.
but I'll never say a bad word about it.
No.
And it's just that, the power of the way they make you guests feel is it sort of covers all ills.
Yeah.
I guess what you've done is create the right environment for that to thrive. I mean, do you think there is a formula to that, or it's kind of like the culture stuff we talked about earlier? It kind of requires the right people, the right time, come together and do it.
I think it goes back to that original principles over rules. As soon as you give people a rule, they'll either want to break it, or they'll not want to follow it, or they'll feel like they're being told what to do. As soon as you give them a principle of this is what we're trying to achieve, here are some examples of how you can do it, but you've got the autonomy to do it and deliver it, they'll then really want to do it and be unique and do it their way. And it's them being true to themselves. I know we've said so many times, hospitality is all about people, and no one person is the same. It's also one of the reasons we don't have uniforms. We want people to feel comfortable. I remember, as much as I loved McDonald Hotel, I am 5 foot, trying to get into those horrible trousers, shirt, tie, waistcoat, and then it fit me and felt so stiff and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The more you feel comfortable, the more you feel like yourself, the more you're given a guide and, I need a bit of a principle of what to say. I don't want to completely go rogue. I've got a guide, but I still want to be myself. It's then more genuine and it's fun for them to deliver rather than a strict. Don't get me wrong, of course there's certain elements of steps of service, but it's not a mystery shopper regimented, you must say this, you must point out that, you must upsell this. It's completely the opposite. It's here's a guiding principle of what we do in roughly timings, but you deliver it. Yeah,
it sounds like when I was working for Byron, we used to sort of teach certain behaviours, like sort of some key behaviours. There are steps of service, and some of it was regimented, but we really tried to drive in the early days, drive the behaviours in, because you can't teach every single thing that's going to happen, and the response to every single question but if you've broadly driven the right behaviours into the team, they know how to respond flexibly and appropriately. And I think
and being an agent, Danny Meyer, rather than a gatekeeper, is one of our core values. So we talk about agents all the time, and that difference between gatekeepers physically stop things and agents facilitate things and make them happen.
Yeah.
So it's that we can give you a rough guide, and your guide is to be an agent. How do you make something happen? We're fully booked. You don't have a table. We'll call someone else. One of the team recently in Covent Garden walked a guest round to Hawksmoor because they didn't know where it was because we were fully booked. Just those little bits of agents mentality is they want to do it because we've given them the freedom to do it. But our core value is, try and make things happen. If you can make things happen for someone, we're on to a winner.
And I mean, absolutely, I love the philosophy, and I think it's, it's sort of frustrating to think back to how many different places, you work or you see where, people love rules and, they try and codify everything. And I guess one of the downsides of, guardrails and guides is sometimes people will get it wrong, or they'll stray a bit far out of it. How do your team, your managers, how do they guide people both ways? Because I guess I'm assuming you've got a stronger culture of feedback and how does that work? Because that can be quite challenging.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of, let me show you examples of how we do it, or the training time is therefore significantly longer than you probably have in most places. Our management training is still 12 weeks. So that being able to do a 12-week training plan for a manager coming into the business so that they can get exposed to everything is it's more that we have a bigger security blanket at the beginning of their time to try and help show people the way without going, this is what you have to nail. I think codifying things has come in as training has shortened. So it's helped people because they have strict rules of what to follow, and training time can shorten. There's then, we do something called word takes. So in our business, you do a stock take all the time, and you take literally count of your stock. We take count of our people, and we do a word take. So we will then have a review with people each month at the early stages, and then as they get more progressed in the business, then quarterly. And you come together and you just chat through what's going well and what's not. And at the end of it together, you pick one word, and that word is your word take. And it's you then focus on that word. So it's then to try and help guide people into what are they doing next, and what is their word that they want to focus on. So again, not then fully going, here's you pass, fail, probation. This is our behaviors. You must hit this. So what word do we both agree as your manager works for you and works for us? And what are the sorts of things you think can bring that to life? And by doing that, it allows that autonomy, but also still bringing in that kind of shield and protection.
Wow. That's cool. I love that. I love the idea of a word take.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And that's sort of, I think sometimes when people talk about innovation, they try and like think of a brand new concept or a brand new look and feel or different tech or whatever. But that's the innovation in, internal innovation, people innovation. That's great. I've got one last question, and then I think we're kind of coming up to time, right? So I guess changing it slightly, talk about the product. Talked so much about people, which is clearly the area that you over-index on and really sort of love. Obviously, product is important. I absolutely love chops, and it's something that I sort of grew up. We always had lamb chops at home.
Yeah, me too.
And it's just like.
It was always lamb chops as well.
Yeah, maybe it was cheaper back then. I don't know, but it was like a real treat, nibbling the bone, getting into it. They're so good. I haven't had them for ages, but I don't think anyone else that I can think of has nailed chops. They seem to have gone from loads of menus, and yet you guys have made it such a central part of what you do.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? How do you think you've nailed it when everyone else has failed?
A lot of the inspiration came from Joe Beef,
okay,
in Canada. So that Montreal Joe Beef of having thin cut meat, cooking at a really high temperature and ironing it, so that it was still pink in the middle. The British Chop House was around for years and was so successful, and then died out, and it kind of lost touch.
Yeah.
So we always wanted to do something that was historically very British, but people loved, and also wasn't very expensive. So if you think of at home, yes, it was maybe a treat, but it wasn't blow the bank. It wasn't go out to, a big American-style steakhouse or a real, fine dining restaurant. Chops at home were a comfort.
Yeah.
So it was, how do we get something that is, very traditional and British, do it in a way that we can do it at speed or at service and do it well, but that will also feel comfort and not going to blow the bank. So the big thing for us is positive bill shock. You want to get to the end of your meal, open the bill and think that we've made a mistake on your bill, and whether that be through quality of product or the product you use. And then the difficulty was learning how to cook them. We knew that chops were something we wanted to do and meat was something we wanted to do. But the difficulty we found was how to cook them, hence Joe Beef. And that ability to cook meat at a really high temperature. So we went on search for irons. And the icon now for Blacklock is the Blacklock iron.
Yeah.
And it's actually, we're named after the original foundry. So the Blacklock foundry is what used to create the irons.
Nice.
So when you go into loads of little antique businesses and you'll see all these irons, the original foundry was called the Blacklock foundry. And that is where it's all come from.
Yeah,
so we then, if you ever go into any of our kitchens, we cook on live fire and live charcoal. And our planchers are anything up to sort of 450, 500 degrees. And the irons sit on them. And then we put meat on. And we quickly put the irons down that weight the pressure. So you can sear each side of the chop and still get that beautiful pink in the middle.
Yeah.
My mummy is very unlikely to listen to podcasts because tech isn't her thing. But the thing I remember most about Ireland is they were always burnt in the middle. She couldn't cook them pink in the middle. They would cremate.
Oh, yeah, a bit tough.
But
you have to really
we wanted to make sure we could still do quality chops in a really premium way, but have them pink in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where Joe Beef came in.
Yeah, great. Great.
When we opened in Manchester, and this shows the power of the chop marketing, because we did a lot of marketing to make people understand that we were chops and not just steaks.
Yeah.
Any of the sort of foodie people that came in to do posts or videos after called us Blacklock Chops. They thought the business was called Blacklock Chops, not Blacklock, because all of the marketing we done on our Instagram handle is Blacklock Chops, and we talked so much about chops that they genuinely thought that was the name of the restaurant.
Nice.
Amazing.
Unintended consequence of the messaging power of messaging. Incredible. Aside from Blacklock, where do you think's doing it really well at the moment?
Doing hospitality well, or all of it,
or
what?
product, or like, where's your favourite place to go? If you're not, so switch it off from work. It's not a work thing. You just like go and get looked after by.
So currently, I think my most recent best kind of visit that I've now been 3 times, because that's a good sign if you've gone the first time and you keep bringing more people, is One Club Row.
Okay,
And I think that Paddy and Neil in there have just really nailed that. French bistro does America, sit at the bar, have a martini, don't have a martini, have a burger, don't have a burger, have really like nice food or have something really quick to go. And then you've got the pub downstairs, it's got rotisserie chicken.
I mean, that sounds fantastic.
So I think there's my kind of current like, wow, they've blown it out of the park. I think Bubla also do really well, or Babla Bubla. Mark, from a veggie point of view, I think they're nailing it.
Yeah. They're up in King's Cross now.
Yeah. There's 4 of them.
Yeah.
4 of them.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, great.
I think those 2 are probably my like, okay. And then guilty pleasure, I love Cafe Pacifico in Covent Garden.
Oh,
I love a watermelon frozen marg.
Yeah,
I just sit at the bar.
That's quite an old school vibe.
Chat to Tony and Carlos, have a margarita.
Amazing.
Like, it's probably my like go-to. When you really aren't meant to be at work and you're just like, you know what? I forget they keep bringing over food. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm not eating. You have to. It's our license. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Just leave it there. But that's my kind of
that place
guilty pleasure.
Really feels like after work hospitality kind of vibe. I think a few of those, there's less of that now.
Anywhere that serves a pipette of tequila on the side of your cocktail
amazing.
is a win.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, we have to leave it there, sadly. But yeah, thank you so much, Maria. Like, I really love your approach. Like, it's really refreshing. Thank you.
And obviously Blacklock, for absolutely flying, super successful, and testament to all of that stuff. So amazing.
We've got a great team.
Wicked.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you. Cheers.